Good morning everybody, I'm Rick the pilot teacher, and have you ever wondered how high a helicopter like this can fly? I can tell you right now. So there are three parts to this question. First one, what is the highest a helicopter like this has ever flown? Second one, what is the highest landing a helicopter has ever done? And three, what is the highest rescue that a helicopter has ever done? In this video, I'm going to talk about all three. So the highest that a helicopter has ever flown is by Fred North, super well-known helicopter pilot, does a lot in the film industry, and he took an AS350 A-Star B2, same as what I'm sitting in right here, in March 2002. He took, let me get these numbers right, he took this aircraft up to 12,954 meters or 42,500 feet. That's insane. Like, I go above 2,000 feet at this thing and I'm like, holy, that's high. 42,500 feet, that just blows my mind. So the highest landing in a helicopter was done by the Eurocopter test pilot Didier Delsal, and he took an A-Star AS350 B3, which is the newer version of the one I'm currently sat in, and he took that and landed it on the top of Everest, 29,030 feet. And let's see for meters, 8,848 meters high, and he did that in May of 2005. It's the first helicopter to ever land on the top of Mount Everest, but he basically had to gut everything out of this machine to make it light enough so that he had enough power to basically be able to come and land on the top of Mount Everest. There's no passengers in it, so at this time they still can't be rescuing people off of the top of Mount Everest just yet, but it's coming. So that's the highest landing. Didier, top of Mount Everest. Insane. So the highest rescue in a helicopter was done by, I've got to get this guy's name right, Maurizio Follini, and he did that in May of 2013. And guess what? It was in another A-Star. That was in a B3, the same as what landed on Everest. And this pilot, insane skills. Now, I've got to read this bit out because it's quite a bit of details. So he rescued a double amputee called Sudarshan Gautam, I think that's how you pronounce his name, off Mount Everest, and he rescued him from 7,800 meters, basically 25,590 feet. So this guy was doing his thing, conquering Mount Everest, double amputee. Huge respect for this guy. Unfortunately, he got into troubles, but Maurizio was able to pick him off in a B3. So now we're going to look about, well, how can helicopters fly higher than what they can land at? And Mount Everest is the highest thing in the world at the moment. So unless we have a huge volcanic eruption that makes a huge mountain higher than Mount Everest, the highest landing is always going to be Mount Everest at this time. So that's why the helicopter can only land on the top of Mount Everest. There's nothing higher. But to be able to fly higher, that's a different story. So we're going to have a look about why helicopters can fly higher than what they can land at. So helicopters basically use the air molecules for the rotor blades to work off and for the engine to mix with the fuel and basically create power, right? And the more molecules you've got in a given area, the more there is for the blades and the engine to work on. As you go higher, the air pressure gets less, so there is less force pushing all those molecules together. So if you've got, say, like a cubic foot of air, when you're down at sea level, you've got lots more pressure pushing all the molecules together. As you get higher, you've got less and less and less. So when you've got less air molecules to work on, the rotor blades don't work as good, and the engine doesn't produce as much power, and you're limited to how much power the engine can produce, and it gets to a point where there's not enough air molecules to keep the aircraft climbing or even staying in level flight. And for Fred North, that was up at like 42,000 feet. So to get a helicopter up high, basically it needs to be light. The lighter the helicopter is, the more of a gap there is between the maximum power that the aircraft can produce and the power required to get this hunk of plastic, fiberglass, metal, composites off the ground. And the lighter it is, the higher the aircraft is going to get before the power required to basically keep it airborne meets the maximum power available. Hence the reason why Didier threw all headset, seats, everything out of the aircraft to get it to be able to land on Mount Everest. So the aircraft needs to be light and needs to have a powerful engine. The more power you've got out of your engine, higher it's going to go. That's kind of common sense. It's kind of like a truck, right? You want to tow something heavy, you get a bigger truck. And the other thing is, old numbnut sitting in the pilot seat is going to need oxygen. Once you start getting up above 10,000 feet, 15,000 feet, you're going to need oxygen, otherwise hypoxia is going to set in and pilot's going to go nighty-night, and yeah, it's not going to end well. So pilot needs oxygen. So some of you are asking, well, why can you not just land a helicopter at 42,000 feet if there was a mountain at 42,000 feet? And it all comes down to what's called the power required curve. Now in a helicopter, the most power required is to get that aircraft off the ground. When it's sitting at 0 airspeed in a hover, the aircraft is going to be using its most amount of power. As you can see on the power required curve here, at 0 airspeed, the power required is right up there. As you start going forward and gaining airspeed, the power required to keep the aircraft in flight starts to reduce, and you reach a point at about 60 knots roughly, depending on the helicopter model, where you're at the bottom of the power required curve, and that is your most efficient airspeed, where you've got far more power available until you hit maximum power. So basically, to fly straight and level at 60 knots requires far less power to be sitting in a hover, and to land on top of a mountain you need to be coming in at practically almost a 0 airspeed, and to do that you're going to need more power. So once you've gone over 60 knots, then the drag on the aircraft, on the fuselage as you're going through the air, starts to increase, so therefore then you need more power to go faster to overcome that drag. So that's why the power required curve is kind of like a U shape. So to fly higher, you can be doing it at 60 knots, but to land you've got to be slower, which requires more power, because when you get up to about 60 knots you've got aerodynamic efficiencies of the main rotor system that basically offloads the power required out of the engine. So that's how a helicopter can fly higher compared to landing. It's all about aerodynamics. If you want to learn more, become a pilot, get into ground school. There's so much stuff to learn, it's cool. So all those records were broken using an A-Star that I'm sitting in now. It's an awesome, awesome aircraft, and there's kind of the three models now. You've got the B2, which I'm sitting in now, you've got the B3, which has got more power, and then you've got the brand new one, which is the B3E, or the Airbus H125 as it's renamed now. We've actually got a H125 being built exactly as I speak, so as soon as that arrives, oh man, you wait till you see the paint job that's coming on that thing. It's going to blow your mind. It looks awesome. So I'm going to do a cool video on the H125 when it arrives. So why go and land on Everest in the first place? Like, these things are expensive to operate, so why do it? And the reason is that Eurocopter at the time, it's now owned by Airbus, basically wanted to prove how awesome their new B3 was, and what better way to go and stick its helicopter on the top of a mountain that nobody had done yet. So it's purely a PR marketing stunt. They went well over and above. now with H125, they might take another person. They may even do a rescue off the top of there. I'm not sure yet. We've got to see. We'll see what the future holds. But basically, the A-Star is just such an incredible aircraft that it blows my mind what pilots can do with it. So if you want to hear about Fred North doing his crazy stuff, you want to hear about his daily life filming around in Hollywood, there is a podcast called The Rotary-Wing Show by an Aussie called Mark Cullen. I listen to it all the time. Mark interviews pilots from all over the world. It's awesome podcasts. And I'll link to the one below with Fred North in it. And just go listen to it. I mean, what an awesome pilot. But, oh man, not a chance would you get me up at 42,000 feet. But Mark's down there. He's talking to him. And it's a really, really good listen. So if you love podcasts, definitely go and find the Rotary-Wing Show. It's great, especially you're sitting around flying, or even flying. I fly and I listen to podcasts all the time when I'm doing ferry flights long cross countries. And yeah, Rotary-Wing Show, great podcast. So yeah, so that's how high you can fly in a helicopter. 42,000 feet, or go and land it on the top of Everest, whichever you want to do. Me personally, I'm going to stick down 2,000 feet above the ground where I can see what's going on in the world. I don't want to be going way up there. But yeah, that's how high you can fly in a helicopter. If you like this kind of stuff, cool. I do stuff like this all the time. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.